Tracy Grimshaw. Welcome to A Current Affair. We begin with the David and Goliath battle between a humble carpenter and a multi-million-dollar builder that proves you should never come between a man and his off-the-plan castle.
I knew I was right. I've been brought up in a way where you're right, you stand up for it. If you can help others, you stand up.
Being right is one thing, but proving it up against one of the biggest building companies in Australia is a whole other story. Well, this disability support pensioner managed to do just that.
I don't think there was ever a time I considered giving up, to be honest.
It can be done.
By now, this should have been Shannon Draper's dream home. Instead, as you can see, it's still a vacant block of land, and all Shannon's got are bitter court battles and a whole lot of emotional turmoil. But he's stuck it out and taken on the building giants, and incredibly, he's come out on top.
Don't go in and allow yourself to be stood over, because quite often they're good at it.
He emerged victorious from legal fights with the country's 8th largest building company, Simonds Homes, and the industry watchdog. To put that into perspective, Simonds Homes earns more than $630 million annually and likely spent upwards of $200,000 defending its case. Shannon, a former carpenter who downed tools a few years back after developing painful arthritis in his legs, represented himself.
Regardless of sick or not, right's right, wrong's wrong, and I'm going to stand up for right.
Shannon spent $193,000 on this off-the-plan home to be built in the small suburb of Wallen in Melbourne's north.
I'm upgrading from, well, we'll call ticky-tacky little 500 square metre block down in Doreen.
Yep.
First chance for myself to get into something a little more substantial.
An abundance of choice and a range of affordable living options to get you into your dream home sooner. Simonds, our experience gives you more.
Despite the promises from Simonds' glossy commercials, Shannon never even got to live in the property. In fact, this is as far as the company got on the build.
What should have been here?
I'd say at the time my dream home.
Soon after the contract was signed, things went badly wrong.
I was aware that in the volume building world the finishes aren't quite, I guess, what I was trained to work to. But I definitely didn't expect compliance issues. Issues related to Australian standards, and I expected the usual, a few paint issues and some cracked tiles.
This was a whole other level.
But yeah, this was next level.
The tradie knows what he's talking about, having worked in the industry for decades. He even levelled the lot himself prior to building commencing in 2014. Alarm bells started ringing though when Shannon discovered Simonds' builder had excavated the site far lower than what had been agreed to and laid the slab.
It was at that stage that I realised that all of the works that I had done on the site were being undermined without any explanation or notification.
He told Simonds to stop the build before it was too late, but when he arrived at the site he realised they'd continued against his advice.
I mean, we went from a stage where the solution was as simple as a couple of truckloads of dirt to all of a sudden things having to be undone that had been done.
Then the troubles really started. Shannon claims he noticed several issues with the build. He said the frame was faulty and the roof trusses were defective. Notice the serious bending. Here, he alleges there were errors in slab dimensions.
But it wasn't until I actually started to see the site works that I realised that it just didn't look like I expected it to look.
He used more of his own money to hire an inspector from the Victorian Building Authority to look at the site.
That I've paid for a service to come out and have things corrected, and these guys didn't even seem to pick up on what needed to be done. And I'll say arguably sided with the builder rather than remaining independent.
Not happy with the inspector's report, Shannon initiated legal proceedings against Simonds Homes and construction finally stopped. He studied and studied knowing he had technical knowledge in spades, but was seriously lacking any legal skills. Things got heated throughout the hearing, and Shannon admits he struggled to deal with his emotions and anger.
I can't deny that I've had my mum sitting next to me at times giving me the elbow in the ribs to make sure that I tone down and calm down.
In the end, though, the tribunal ruled in Shannon's favour, agreeing that Simonds had laid the slab too low and changed the plans for the house without following the required variation processes. It's pretty remarkable, considering the building giant was paying close to $5,000 a day for its barrister. Simonds tried to appeal the finding in the Supreme Court, but eventually decided to settle with Shannon. According to newspaper reports, the building company took back the property and demolished it.
It was a fair solution to a fairly horrible problem.
To prevent this from happening to anyone else, Shannon wanted the industry watchdog, then known as the Building Practitioners Board, to investigate what had gone wrong. But it refused. So he launched legal proceedings against the board because of its inaction, and guess what? He won again. The tribunal ruled the board should have properly investigated a range of issues with the build, but failed to do so. Now, an inquiry into the professional conduct of Simonds Homes will be held.
All power to Shannon. He did a great job in achieving that, and the outcomes were fantastic.
Phil Dwyer from the Builders Collective of Australia says Shannon's success story is very rare, and often it's a different result for those who've been burned by budget home building companies.
But even if we just look at just very recent times, like I can probably name 20 or 30 or 40 lots of families that have been impacted in a similar way. And it's not right that we exhaust their financial future and security through a system, a broken system.
Shannon has this advice for Aussies considering purchasing an off-the-plan package like he did.
I'd seriously recommend to anyone it's worth spending that little bit of extra money to make sure that contract's right. You really have to stay vigilant on the documents, constantly asking questions, is anything being changed? Try and get as much as you can in writing. Don't think you can go up once a month, because these types of build move very, very quickly. And in that month, your slab will be down, your frame will be down, and the plaster will be up.
Good advice. You can read the full statement from the Victorian Building Authority on our website. Now the developing story on the Crown